Hello, it's Joanna Naden, writer, back again to talk to you about Penny Dreadful. I'm not reading a story to you today though. I thought what I'd do is tell you a bit about where Penny Dreadful came from. Now, the first time I heard the words Penny Dreadful was many, many years ago when I worked for a theatre company and they were doing a show called Penny Dreadful. And I loved that name and I wrote it down in a little book of ideas. I didn't even want to be a writer then, but I had a book with me always, a notebook, and I wrote down words I liked or little snippets of stories that might come in handy someday. And I put it away and didn't really think about it for a while until many years later when I actually did become a writer. And I kept thinking, it was always at the back of my mind when I was writing all my other books, who would Penny Dreadful be? Who was she? And I thought about all the people I'd worked with. I'd worked in television for years and I'd met all sorts of quite dreadful people, but none of them were Penny Dreadful. And then I worked in politics and I met some very dreadful people there, but none of them were Penny Dreadful. And then I moved from London all the way here to Bath in Somerset in England. And I had a little girl called Amelia. And while I was upstairs writing all day in the attic, she was downstairs with her best friend, Catherine, who lived next door. And they were getting up to all sorts of fun things. But it was the sort of fun that for them was fun and for grown-ups was a little bit annoying because it usually ended in mess. In fact, they were so messy we ended up calling them Menace 1 and Menace 2. And they did all sorts of things. Haircuts were a popular thing, giving each other haircuts. One time they thought they'd do a really lovely thing, which was to give all the people who lived on our little row of houses flowers. So they went round to the back gardens, which were communal back gardens, everyone could use them, and they pulled up lots of flowers, roots and all, and then shoved them through everyone's letterboxes. But you see, they weren't trying to be naughty, they were just trying to do a nice thing, pretty much like Penny Dreadful is all the time. And then there was the time they decided to make a potion. I don't know if you've ever made a potion, but it is huge fun. I'm not recommending you do it now. You need supervision, really, when you do these kind of things. These two did not have supervision. And it all went a little bit wrong. And you'll realise why when I tell you what went in the potion. Number 1, a whole tube of toothpaste. Number 2, a whole bottle of anti-dandruff shampoo. Number 3, some hair removing cream. Number 4, a big tub of Clarins face cream. Any mums watching will understand the sort of horror that gave me at the time because they know that's very expensive face cream. And it's all sounding a little bit like George's Marvellous Medicine, isn't it? But it was not very marvellous at all, and that's because of the number 5 thing that they put in this potion, which was a bottle of red hair dye. Now, the dye was left over from World Book Day when we thought we might dye Millie's hair red to be Pippi Longstocking, but in the end we didn't, so we shoved it to the back of the cupboard where I forgot about it, but she did not. So by now they've got this very red, very gloopy, very sticky potion, and they're in the middle of playing some Harry Potter game, and they decide that what they need to do to get rid of a witch is get her to have the potion. But the witch will not swallow the potion. Oh no, she's too busy flying round, so they decide they need to throw it at her instead. So they throw some at the ceiling, where the witch is, and at the walls, where the witch is. And then the witch leaves the bathroom and goes into my bedroom. And they carry on throwing potion at her. So I had a very red, spattered house, basically. But it was quite hard to be cross with them afterwards when I discovered how very red my entire house was, because they hadn't meant to be naughty. They were just trying to get rid of this terrible witch in their game. And this is when I had what's called a light bulb moment. I suddenly realised who Penny Dreadful was. She wasn't a girl or a person who was trying to be dreadful at all. She was just a person who was curious and fun and interested in all sorts of things, and sometimes they just went a little bit wrong. So that's how she became my Penny Dreadful, who was a magnet for disaster. And she's in the room right with me now, and so I'm just going to show her you. This was her back when she was small. That's her on her own, and that's her and her friend Catherine, Menace 1 and Menace 2. And this is her now, and she's not all at all menace-like or dreadful. She's very tall now, isn't she? Much taller than me. She sometimes looks a bit scary to people, but she's not scary at all. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed finding out about where Penny Dreadful came from. And I'll see you again tomorrow for another story. Bye!